So today is the last partner interview as well as the last episode of the Social Blend series. And since this is the episode to wrap it all up, who better to have with us than Anne-Sophie, who is one of the lead partners coming from Catholic Education Flanders from Belgium, which, other than being the lead partner of the whole project, was a partner responsible for the Cpd course. Good morning, Anne-Sophie. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing well. We held the final conference of our project in Poland 2 weeks ago. It was nice to see how all partners were there and were able to present their materials and toolboxes to educators and teachers. It was a very nice way to close the project with our entire group. So I'm fine.
It really was fantastic. You are right. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to say a few more things about that. In the meantime, I'd like to take us back a bit to the questionnaire, which is the one that started everything for us in regards to the direction. And I want us to particularly see what led to the formation of the Cpd course and the work package, which you're responsible for as it is now. So part 6 of the questionnaire, which was originally sent, just to remind everyone, since it's been a long time, it was sent to teachers from all the partner countries of this project to diagnose the needs that we should address as a consortium, was the final category of the questions and concerned teachers' CPD practices. What was shown, and I quote the research report, is the following. What is visible in relation to TVS, so transversal skills implementation, is that teachers can mostly exchange ideas with their colleagues and attend lectures and peer coaching sessions along with methodological training. What they would prefer, however, was more support when it comes to training sessions that were methodological based and webinars, followed by the opportunity to exchange ideas with their colleagues. And of course, they also added that they would require more financial support. Could you tell us how the consortium went about addressing this preference and needs through the work packages? And I understand that this is a very long question and it's multifaceted, so please take your time.
Okay, so let me just tell you that our intention was to make the information and all the materials in this project easily accessible. That was the reason for choosing the format of a website on which we could really collect everything we publish, we talk about in the webinars and in the sessions, everything we found in the research. So we wanted to collect everything in one place. So everything can be found on or via the CPD website. And our multiplier events, they serve as a kind of GPS moment to show teachers the way on the website so that they can professionalize themselves with videos, manuals, webinars in their own time and at their own pace. The methodology of the website, of the CPD website, you can compare it to a menu in a restaurant. We did not opt for a potluck where everyone shares their dish with the group, which, by the way, can be very pleasant and delicious. But just like chefs, we put together a balanced menu that teachers can apply to almost all lessons to make them more blended. As for the financial support, we were of course unable to provide this through the project, but we could take this important request into account. While developing the website, we always kept in mind this idea. So almost all the materials in the toolboxes are open source. This way you can organize innovative education with a very small budget.
Love, you are right. We did try our best to find open source materials. That also wasn't something that everyone knew about because we didn't want to give a lot of material that people have already used, but at the same time, we wanted to balance, like you said, in other ways with tools that teachers might have used, were still open source, but also maybe did not think about using them to also develop skills. They were primarily used for academic content. So you're absolutely right. But since you've mentioned the website, so having all the information you just gave us in mind, could you please take us through the website and tell us how to use it?
So this website has several functions. It is primarily a place where all the materials from the project are collected, and we have tried to organize them in a clear manner. So as you can see, there are three big buttons and on the home page. The toolboxes button takes you to our 10 selected transversal skills. So let me show you this. Here they are. For each skill, you will find a poster on which you can see in a glance, what the skill is about in a video that Elvira and Gosia from Poland describe in detail. So, for example, let's go to Think Independently. Here you can see the poster and a flipped video with the explanation of the transversal skill. Yeah. In addition, Team Hungary linked a tool to each skill. Team Slovakia added a game. And Team Romania provided inspiration with a discussion tool. For every tool, let me click on one, for example, the game, you receive a manual and a video with all the necessary information to get started immediately. So it's very practical. You also get some information on how to use this game, for example, or the tool or a discussion tool in your classroom. You go back to the home page like this. We believe that the tools in the toolbox can support the development of the transversal skills. However, the tools can never be a goal themselves. They fit within the bigger idea of blended learning. So at Multiplier event, but also on our CPD website, we also introduce teachers how to build a blended lesson. For example, they can find a video in our lab. Let me just go quickly there. A video on blended learning.
Maybe we should change that thumbnail.
Yeah, okay. Where you, CJ, you explain blended learning in a nutshell. But there's also a lesson plan checklist in the lab that makes teachers think about transforming a classic lesson into a blended activity. So if I go back to the lab, but the lesson plan, you can see a ready-made lesson plan that you can use to transform your lesson into a blended activity. There is also a third button, and that's our library. The library is made for people who want to delve deeper into the content. There you will find our research results and all the episodes from the series broadcast on the team. So that is our library. We are also planning on adding some materials to it, so it's a dynamic part of the website. And last but not least, people who want to get to know the partners involved in this project or who want to collaborate with them, all 7 of them are introduced on the website with a video telling you what they are up to. So that is in a nutshell the website. I just stop sharing now.
That's
Okay.
excellent. And the website actually was a huge part of the conference itself, as in the workshop was done through the website, as in we wanted to, and please do correct me, Anne Sophie, we wanted this to be a teacher-led session where they had the tool, but then they could use, of course, the website as they please to, like you said, tailor their own lesson plan and just use it as a map.
On the conference, and I think also on the multiplier
Yes.
events, I think our goal is that teachers can immediately get result out of these materials. So not only introducing things and sharing the theoretical part, but making it a hands-on activity on the conference. Teachers really, they had a lesson plan checklist. And at the end of the conference, most people went home with an idea of a blended lesson.
Exactly.
Built on the most important building blocks of blended learning, but also using some of our materials
Mm-hmm.
to make their activity blended.
Yep. So this wasn't
So
a
we hope
typical
by doing
website.
this once on a multiplier event or on the conference, or even telling it now in this session, that the teachers who are critical and innovative thinkers can go by themselves and do it again for different lessons.
Yeah, exactly. And we will come to that in a bit, where we will see how people can use this and replicate the experience if they weren't part of the multiplier. But before we do get to that, so the multiplier events, as you said, as well as a conference, managed to bring together people to exchange ideas and work together through the website. So it was a medium to open that conversation up for them. So how about schools and teachers that were not part of the conference or the multiplier because they couldn't or were not aware of it? How can they use the CPD course, the website, to benefit their own, on their own rather, or benefit as a group or as a school?
I think there are different ways to do that. If a school really wants to get to know our materials and our project in depth, I would recommend them to look at the episodes. All the episodes who are posted on our social media channels, looking at parts of them or selecting, because I think to start with, you have to have an idea on what is blended learning and what is the vision of our project team, because there are some different visions on blended learning, and we follow the specific one where we don't go by the technology integration, but really thinking about how can I combine traditional teaching methods and online or digital teaching methods and blend it into a powerful learning environment. So this is one idea you have to hold in mind while using our materials. So looking at the episodes will help you doing that. But also, if you don't have the time to look at all the episodes, the flipped video on our website gives you an idea. I would not recommend diving into the toolboxes directly without any notion on blended learning, because then I'm a bit afraid it would come to technology integration. So the toolboxes are very practical, but they are linked to a way of thinking on blended learning that we would really like to recommend to explore with your team. But apart from that, you can do everything on your own in your school. You don't need uh, somebody from the project explaining it. It's really everything is made for using it with your team in your school on your own. Yeah.
So does that mean that they can use the CPD website to replicate the experience of the multipliers and the conference on their own?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. If you go through the website, it's quite intuitive, and you use the lesson plan. You start developing an activity, and that is very similar to what we are doing on the multipliers. The one difference, if you do it totally on your own, you miss the discussion with your team. So yeah, maybe you should, no, not maybe, I think you should do it as a small group or as a group and really discuss, is this blended learning? Am I using this tool in a way that is enriching my education? Because that was really our goal, working on transversal skills while using methods that are um, an enrichment for the education in your school.
Just to give a bit of context as to what happened in the conference and the multipliers, maybe the multipliers at a smaller scale, but essentially, like you said, we first gave a good background of what transversal skills are and blended learning to avoid technology integration, which, by the way, I think we will be able to post that for people that were not a part of it. So they will still be able to see the theoretical aspects that are important to use as a foundation. And then we broke our participants up into three main groups into station rotation, where each rotation room had, like you saw when we broke up the toolboxes, it was split into games, then the discussion toolbox, and then we had the online teaching and learning tools. And the point was, like you said, after acknowledging what Blended is supposed to do, having in mind that we need to develop skills, then they chose one skill to focus on, so one of the 10. And they said, let's say, you said, was it to think independently? Was that the one that you first chose?
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so they
was.
clicked on that, and then they slowly, as a group, they went to each of these stations and thought, okay, how can I use this tool to develop the skill that I'm focusing on in a blended manner? And of course, like you said, this was just a suggestion. So they were supposed to not just take it as it is the suggestion, they're supposed to tailor it to their needs and discuss it and make it much better than we initially suggested. And then eventually they came down, like you said, with that lesson plan. So it was very solution oriented. It wasn't just for the sake of seeing what tools are out there that could potentially help develop a skill. It was very intentional as to find a solution during classroom time to develop these skills. So yes, like you said, they can replicate it and better in a group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say they do that. They do replicate it. What can they expect based on what you experienced at your own multiplier in Belgium as well as the conference in Poland?
They can expect to see some insights that will surprise them. For example, in the multiplier in Belgium, we discussed station rotation, and we gave some examples from very young children working in station rotation, children, but also children in high school. We did that with some videos we found on the internet. And then you could see teachers really connecting to, oh, this is not only something for young children, or not only something for all elderly children, or not only for mathematics. You can also learn, use it in like a reading education. So that was an eye opener for a lot of teachers, because a lot of those building blocks they know what station rotation is, they know what flipped classroom is. But for example, on flipped classroom, we really talked about that teachers make their own videos, because a lot of teachers use videos. But then we discussed why we found it so important that teachers make their own videos. And also that was an eye opener for some teachers. Okay, yeah. Because when I make my own videos, it's a replica of what I'm telling in the classroom, and they saw opportunities to work together with parents. They saw opportunities for the problems they have with homework sometimes. So I think certainly on the building blocks, everybody could connect their job to what we were saying. They're also saying, yeah, it's maybe it's a lot of work. It's thinking differently. Maybe it is something I can't do on my own. I have to discuss this with my colleagues. So that was a very positive thing for us because we also believe that blended learning can't be something that is realized in one class in a school. It's something you have to work on as a team. So explaining all these methods and showing them examples, people realize that. So that was a very important thing on our multiplier, and also I think the conference. The tools and the materials, they come in secondly. And that's it's easier to connect for a teacher because they are used to using tools and methods, and a tool is something temporarily. But when you work with an LMS on or station rotation, it is something that goes into every part of your teaching. So I think that the biggest work is to implement blended learning as a system, as a methodology in your classroom. And then working with the tools, once you get to know blended learning, is not such a big step. And as you were saying, Crystal Jade, our tools, some of them you might never heard of, some of them maybe are very known to you, but maybe not known as a tool to develop a transversal skill. That was also feedback we got in our multiplier event. They say, wow, Padlet, yeah, I know Padlet for years, but I wouldn't think of it connecting to a transversal skill. So that's also one of our goals that we saw reached by the multiply. So yeah, I think that's the most that's the feedback and the reactions that struck me very much at the multiplier
And
and the
I think,
conference.
yep, I think we were very intentional about also doing what we're suggesting. So we suggested to teachers to use flipped classroom and how it can save a lot of time, and then use station rotation. But then we did it. We did it ourselves. So the website itself is actually built on those principles. As in, you
Mm-hmm.
first, if you want, you watch that first video about the explanation of the skill that you're focusing on. And then you start to narrow down. And every step where we narrow things down, there's a flipped video. There's also a manual for different learning types and also for diving more in depth. And we also
Mm-hmm.
did it in station rotation. So we tried to do it in such a way where they would experience what their students could potentially experience so that they can see it from a different point of view. And like you said, we did have very positive reactions. But like you said, also tools change all the time. It's about how do we use our mindset in such a creative yet solution focused way to get the opportunity to develop not just academic knowledge but the skills that we're targeting in this whole project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah. So as we come to a close, what was it like for you to be a part of this project and part of bringing the CPD course together?
Well, for me, it was quite an exciting ride. It was my very first European collaboration, and it was the first time I had to build a CPD course, um, a website, and many other firsts. So I had to seriously stretch at times, but by doing that, I learned a lot, and I met a lot. I met some fantastic people. So it was a great experience. Yeah,
It was a great experience. I can say absolutely the same. One of the fantastic people that I got to meet, and I've said this to you in person, was you. We got to learn from each other. We have different experiences, and I believe I found a friend and a colleague that hopefully will pass this project, and we will continue our relationship. So,
yeah, I'm
as a
sure.
close, is there a message that you would like to leave for our viewers out there?
Yeah, I would like to quote Rita Pearson, if I may. She was a very big inspiration to me. And she says, every kid deserves a champion. Every kid needs a champion. And I strongly agree with her because to me, a champion teacher is someone who can connect with children, someone who does everything he can to get a child to learn, someone who can reflect on his actions and is open to innovation, someone who makes critical choices and blends everything into powerful education. So, Rita Person, every kid needs a champion.
Absolutely. And I did see the pun in the blend that you mentioned. Um, thank you very much for being here. And I hope our viewers out there get to grow also, but also get to dive into the material. And if they need anything, they can always reach out to any of the partners, but also our social media pages. And Sophie, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.